See Me, See My Ability, the podcast of the ARC Southern Maryland. Over the past few weeks, we've been talking about steps those with IDD, intellectual developmental disabilities, may take to become more financially independent and make more decisions for themselves. Since a lot of the nitty-gritty detail involves dollars and cents, let's get into it. Listen to our recent Zoom chat with Betty Ann Mobley. She's the director of Maryland ABLE, which is now part of the Treasury Department of the state of Maryland.
Maryland ABLE is a great program. We started here in Maryland back in November of 2017, and for the first time in Maryland, Marylanders were able to open accounts that protected their asset against asset limitations for means-tested programs.
Now, here's the issue. For almost the last 90 years, families with members who were diagnosed as having a disability have had to be careful about how much money they allow their disabled relatives to have in their own possession if they wanted to qualify for federal or state financial help. Medicare rules, which have not changed in decades, say that a single Medicare recipient can only have $2,500 in real dollars and cents in savings and checking accounts. That's the only amount of money that they can draw from or spend right away. As a result, family and friends who wanted to give money as a gift for, say, a birthday or holiday did not. But much like college savings accounts, ABLE accounts are protected from being taxed in some states, like Maryland, and there's no limit. So old-fashioned 20th century thinking about how much access to money the disabled should have is thrown out the window in 2024, the 21st century. Since 2014, the Bipartisan ABLE Act, which stands for Achieving a Better Life Experience, has been a federal law. It was part of the Tax Increase Prevention Act of 2014 and is now part of the Internal Revenue Service, or IRS, code. The ABLE account created tax-free savings accounts for those with disabilities, but because the federal government did not give states money to help enact the law, it's been taking them a while to put together ABLE plans state by state. For instance, it took over 2 years for Maryland state lawmakers to adopt the ABLE Act tax exemptions, and for them, the governor to sign it into law. Once you open an account, you and you alone own the account and are the beneficiary of the account. Currently, only people with a diagnosed disability before they are aged 26 can open accounts, but Betty says that's going to change soon.
The good news is we just had federal legislation passed. Believe it or not, we got something through Congress, very bipartisan supported, by the way, that is called the Age Adjustment Act, ABLE Age Adjustment Act. And that is going to increase that age of onset of the disability from 26 to 46. And veterans are one of those groups we were really thinking about. Veterans, people with traumatic brain injuries later in life, perhaps people who have MS or Lou Gehrig's disease, which has a little bit later onset, as well as people who might have mental health challenges come into their life after the age of 26 and before the age of 46.
The new age limit increase goes into effect in 2026. We're recording this episode in late 2024. During my conversation with Betty Ann Mobley, we discussed the differences between, let's say, Social Security, disability insurance benefits, and ABLE accounts. With SSI, your benefits can be suspended if you grow your monetary assets above a certain amount of dollars. Betty Ann says you can never be unenrolled from an ABLE account. It's yours to spend and save to as you wish.
That's exactly how ABLE accounts are designed. You link an ABLE account to your outside bank account, a savings account, a checking account, whatever it is, and you really just move money from one to the other. You move it from your outside account to your ABLE account to become part of that savings and investment account, and whenever you want to use it, you just move it right back over and spend it.
This is really cool for the young people that we cater to at the ARC, because we're not talking about kids anymore. They're in transition. They're young adults, and they're leaving their parents' home. We hope that they're able to, or living with their parents but making their own money with whatever jobs they have, but they still need assistance.
Yeah.
So when a person is, let's say, 22 and or even 26 because they can't be a mom and dad's health insurance anymore, when should people start to really try to learn and figure this stuff out? And if they can't possibly intellectually comprehend it all, what help is there?
So when should you begin to learn about an ABLE account? From the time you're born, your parents should be looking at an ABLE account to establish one for you. If you don't have an ABLE account and you do reach age of majority, which is 18 in Maryland, it's never too late to start learning. And so the way that ABLE accounts are designed, they're designed, again, as an empowerment and financial literacy opportunity for people with disabilities to experience who may not have those experiences in their past. In fact, when we think about that application, we need to remember that even if a person needs assistance or support to manage their ABLE account, that person with the disability is always the owner of the account and always the beneficiary of the account. So having someone as an authorized representative to help manage the account doesn't change that. And who can be that person? Well, it kind of depends. Our regulations are actually in the IRS tax code, not in Social Security, not in Medicaid. They're in the IRS tax code. And about 2 years ago, they were expanded to give additional people the ability to support. And the way that those regulations are stated, it says, if you are, as an account holder, are someone who can choose someone to help you with managing your account, you can choose anybody that you want. And with your permission, they can assist you to open the account and manage the account. However, if you're someone who is not able to make that decision, not able to select someone, then there are options available to you. And it's established in the form of a hierarchy. And the hierarchy starts with a power of attorney. And I've had some people say, well, wait a minute, if you couldn't choose, how do you assign a power of attorney? Well, perhaps maybe an earlier point in your life, you were able to choose and signed over a power of attorney, and now your circumstances have changed. So that's why that's the first one. The second one is a legal guardian or conservator. We don't see the word conservator very much in Maryland. We typically see guardianship. And guardianship to manage the ABLE account must include guardianship of property. Because you may or may not know, in Maryland, guardianship has kind of three choices. You can be guardianship of person, or guardianship of property, or have full guardianship, which includes both of those. After a guardian comes spouse. So spouse would be the next person in the order. Next is parent, then sibling, then grandparent, and then the Social Security authorized representative payee.
For Betty Ann Mobley, working on getting more Marylanders with disabilities to start ABLE accounts is personal.
I think of friends of mine who previously, when we would go out to lunch or whatever, I would treat because they didn't really have their own money or access to that money without it going through 25 processes to secure it. So it was just easier for me to pay. And I have a story about a friend of mine who's 20 and has an ABLE account and has a ABLE prepaid card here in Maryland. And a couple of weeks ago, we went out to lunch and she looked at the waitress and she said, "Separate checks, please." And the feeling I got just seeing the confidence she had and the ability to do the same thing I've been doing for many, many years of my life, and she'd never had that experience before, was just so incredible. The lady who called me up one day and said, "I need you to help me because my lawyer needs to have contact with my ABLE account." And I said, "Are you okay? Is everything all right?" She said, "Yep, Betty Ann, I'm buying a house. I'm buying a house next door to my best friend and her husband in upstate New York." Now, imagine, she said, "And the best thing is, I can't wait to walk into that HUD office and hand over my voucher because I'm going to be a homeowner."
You've been hearing my chat with the director of Maryland ABLE, Betty Ann Mobley. You can find her in the Maryland Treasurer's office and on the internet at home marylandable.org. See Me, See My Ability is a podcast of the ARC Southern Maryland. You can find our podcasts on our website at arcsomd.org or wherever you enjoy listening to podcasts. We'd appreciate reviews and comments so that others might be able to find our work easier on the World Wide Web. I'm Rita Rich.